and more, I am being guided to study more. Muslim. You a Muslim, Khalid? Yes, I am. But I'm a Moor. Islam. I'm a Moor.
At last, we do the dash. I marathon in my time, stay on the line. I'm never stalling like Malcolm. I spill the facts. You still applaud and they hate, assassinate, and y'all award them. By the mass, I choose sets. Word to Boston. In the lab with crew necks, herbs and tonics. In the class with scientists doing the math, writing hieroglyphs. I'm the man with the iron fist. Got a past full of darkness. Catching that ghost like a house when it's haunted. Doing the most with the status of a lease home. I spend my whole life running for police cars. I spent my lifetime running from my evils. Ain't know myself, thought I was a different people. My people say they couldn't find the answers. Never heard of Moors, but know all about the Panthers. We catching cancers. Last dragon, knew I was a master. Started from a servant. Chapter 28.
We got.
We all we got. We all we got. We got. Oh, love, truth, peace, freedom, justice. So upon the law, put my fears in the dungeon.
We got.
We all we got. We all we got.
Love for my mothers, brothers, enemies and others. Love for those with no shelter eaten from the gutters. Truth a vibration so strong it heals. Truth is the second principle of our divine creed. Truth is art, for it many died and some fought. Truth doesn't apologize and need a mascot. Truth must be known and not just only love genius. Truth is not for all men, only those who seek it. Peace be still, be integrity, behold upright. Peace is a mind state, no need to be uptight. Peace in the greeting or passage when I leave. Peace will not rest but rise when you grieve. Freedom of speech taken away like sheep led to slaughter. Freedom for souls trapped, out of control kidnapped daughters. Justice or death, after that what's left? Justice for the husk, become one with the holy breath.
I was the last dragon, knew I was a master. Started from a servant, chapter 28.
We got.
We all we got. We all we got. Oh, love, truth, peace, freedom, justice. So upon the law, put my fears in the dungeon.
We got.
We all stand on guard. The 5-pointed star renegade with the J Scimitar. It got the thinnest blade. We blaze in the halls until the feeling fades. The game's in my heart, ain't nothing minute made. Reversing this mystery, y'all. Cursing this history, nigga. That turns burned in my mind and crime hinders me. Say hi, Timothy. This is divine ministry. Focused upon getting the mind about a misery.
Justice denied, ignorance prevails. Justice the balance, but I see just us in the jails. Justice can only reign with a free national name. Justice gives no pleasure or has no shame. So love speak truth, so peace can exist. For freedom to democracies not to exist. Fill out the census wrong, end up on the stock list. Tight with the fam like locks twist, Moorish or
I was the last dragon, knew I was a master. Started from a servant, chapter 28.
We got.
We all we got. Oh, love, truth, peace, freedom, justice. So upon the law, put my fears in the dungeon. We all we got.
They gon' never argue with you that I'm
We got.
Common sense was made before book sense. Canaanland Moors presents Common Sense Quick.
Legendary, bury me in the North Gates Cemetery, February the 4th days. Son of Mary, day ahead of my born day. Independence and law makes it a little of a lost case. With case laws, we break them down like Jericho. Keeping all my lions tamed, I'm Chris Jericho. Or keep a mask on deck, I'm Rey Mysterio. Fake pandemics announced over the radio. Annoyed with the game, the joys and the pains. I rock bass, mix it with rock the hard way. I was in a lost state. Prophets told me upright, brought me to a lost gate. Cooking like I'm Salt Bay, prepping like I'm Denzel. Malcolm X, Deja Vu, Roman J. Israel. Had no door, I lay in plain sight. But people still can't see it, so the snake's still showing up. Stakes still high, so the race still going up. Warriors of the North Gate, we not slowing up. Born in the manger, sworn to be savior. Walk through the valley of the shadows of the death of his slavery. Looking for life, the book of Genesis. Astroplane interests, invoke the nemesis. Abstract images of past lives kicking in. Danger, running for your life, finishing.
Morris Lamar, key man or oracle, using Trinity powers, decipher allegorical, lost in metaphorical, holy books are metaphysic, facts like a dirty Moor or a Drew Ali critic, calling them Thomas or Walter and get your face caved, or cut like a close shave, drowned in my brainwaves, squashed by heat waves, activating Kundalini, Abyssinia invaded by Mussolini, Selassie I in exile, reptile in Genesis, Negus appearing real, all I see is false evidence, they are feminists, stomped on by elephants, won't let go prejudice but want Moorish benefits, when you feel the cold magnetic resonance, Apis horns of the sacred book called Maleficent, great cosmic mothers, return to blessedness, no pestilence, ace all the testaments, tap into remembrance, never to forget again, use energy right, not put spell effects on men, wandering the earth plane with no they live shades, keeps you a mental slave as the horizon fades, it's been decades since Christian crusades, not enough rebellions, too many vigil bouquets, holding on to the fence, burning on doomsday, war ruled by Mars, it might be on a Tuesday.
Canaanland Moors presents Common Sense Quick. What we do here is we add some common sense thinking to everyday situations or comments that may arise. Want to give it a try?
That's a lot, Morris. If you have any questions, you can put it in the chat.
Protected by universal law.
You keep talking, and you're going to be charged with contempt, and you're going to go to jail.
You have already contempted this place.
No, I told you I would if
You're
you
trying to
quit
get down
talking.
here. These are the living witnesses to what you're trying to do.
Very
You
good.
are trying to create a fictitious fraudulent action. You are trying to bilk the Federal Reserve by securitizing in all caps commercialized name
Sir,
and notifying
would you
them
remove him from
that
court?
they are standing in debt now. If you touch me, you will violate natural law. Do not come near me. I am
Then
protected
shush,
by the land.
shush.
Tell me to shut up. I am the living natural man, and my voice will be heard. That is the Jolly Roger. That thing you call the American flag with the gold fringe around it is the Jolly Roger, and you are acting as one of its privateers.
Okay, you're here on charge of arrest.
I'm here by special visitation.
That's right. And
I've
you're
never
here
let
on
you get away with
obstructing
this.
a
You
police
bet I'm here.
officer. To each charge, could be up to a $500 fine, up to 6 months in jail.
I do not understand any charges. I only understand universal law.
So somebody put their little stuff on there, little comments and stuff. Courts are Saturn / satanic witchcraft meant to turn living man / spirit into dead corporate entities / persons, aka individuals. They need our consent. Now what? All the Negro, black, colored people or whatever were throwing this around because they came into some information about some sovereignty and they got some package from some guy that they bought, so they're sovereign. And they're looking at this and using this as an example to say, look, these people are running a fraud, so here's how you get out of it. And then this guy, for the Europeans, is saying, we're living men, we're living souls, and we're beings and all that. We're not corporations. You can't do this to us, blah, blah, blah. That's a European. If he's talking about living soul and all that stuff like that, he better be in Europe talking about that stuff. You can't be talking about that stuff over here. Because as a European in the Americas, you're a foreigner. Now, what status is your foreign citizenship? And this is where it comes in that Moors who have this information about nationality and birthrights, we're supposed to be telling this information to our people so they can have their way of whatever, just like this European has his way, that he's going to go to them and say whatever he's got to say, shut the court down. You better not be black, Moor, whatever, going in there trying what he just did. Because that Livingman stuff, that's a particular jurisdiction that has absolutely nothing to do with Moors. Because Moors know that we have a nationality. You have some living soul floating around as if you don't have a body. Stop the BS. What's your nationality? Living soul is not a nationality. Where's the living soul? Where's the living man land at? Where's that? Oh, that's the great earth that the God created and all that stuff. Well, you're looking at God right now, and I know you have a nationality. Stop the BS. Who's God out the sky you talking about? I know you got nationality. But the point of the matter is, look at these Europeans doing the same thing, talking the same way how Moors talk. Why? Because Moors don't want to talk like this. Moors don't want to talk like Moors. Moors want to talk like Kemetic guys, Nuapian, nation of some Islamic whatever. When the order of the day is nationality. And if you're a foreigner, you better be showing allegiance to the indigenous people. That's why anybody who's been on a cruise knows the cruise ship people, they're not going to the mainland. They're going to the guy over there with the little shop that they got all the shops set up for all the tourists to go whatever. The Aboriginal and indigenous people, we're going to the mainland. We're not going there on a cruise vacation, whatever. We're going to see our family. So we're passing the guy who's selling the whatever exotic fruit, and we're going to the guy who has the tree. Because you have to show allegiance to the Aboriginal and indigenous people anywhere you go. Because they're the foundation of that place. And that should have been the pattern, but again, our people can't get their stuff together. There's always some clown who's going to influence some other clowns to go opposite of where we're supposed to go. Always. So we come to realize that there are Europeans who are out there who are exercising certain rights that really don't reside with them because they're a foreigner. But because our people choose to go the way of not be themselves, Moors, then these type of Europeans have leeway. Because your birthright sitting there, you don't want it, somebody else is going to use it, especially if they're in your land. And they know that you know that they know something that you don't know. And you get caught up chasing stuff as if some European, you're going to tell me, oh, the Moors, oh, that came from a European. But then you're going to send me some European going to some court talking about something? That's a reference point? So you just said we can't use a dictionary because that's a European. And we can't do whatever because that's from a European. And the feather's from a European. And Islam came from the Vatican. And Islam is the conquerors of the African Shanghai Empire and all that BS. We have our position. And our position is where it's at. We're not Negro, black, colored. We're Moors. It's that simple. If you want to be Negro, black, colored, and whatever else they made up and said that that's what you are, cool, do that. But don't send me BS. Because we know Moors right now who just got out of being kidnapped by these people. He had the guns in the trunk and all that stuff. And they made him sign out on his own recognizance because he said he's a Moor to them. What do you mean this doesn't work? What do you mean you're going to follow some European with a pilgrim hat or whatever like that, even though the hat that he has comes from the sombrero, which lets you know he's using your stuff and you're a dumbass? The 3-cone hat stuff that this guy has on.
And the right to live in peace, and to live as I need to.
You pled not guilty in this.
I never plead. Animals plead. Sound like point.
I have a paper with your signature on it, so.
It says prime evidence standing right through it. You bring forward all natural forms of evidence that I'm not prime evidence. I am the living soil. The dirt, the water, and the air has its own voice, does it not? It all supports forms of life, does it not? I am a part of that life. I am not your corporate fiction.
Sir,
Do not hinder me.
you're here today on an omnibus hearing. You've already pled not
I am
guilty.
here by special visitation to see to it that you do not tainter my natural living man's name.
Now, the real argument, if he was really on his game, as he says he's going to go to court and whatever like that, if he was really on his game as a European, what he would really be asking her for is her delegation of authority to have a court in Morocco, because she's a European and he's a European. But he knows that these Europeans, including him, who are in this land, are only here because of the Moroccan Empire giving them permission to come over here. They know this. That's where he should have went if he's really on something. And then now they got to show, yeah, I plead guilty. But for the record, where you get your delegation of authority from? Because I'm a European. I'm a foreigner here. But because I know that I'm in Morocco, and this is the land of the Moors that you guys call America and all that, North America, Canada, United States, all these things, do your thing. But I know that this is Morocco. And I know that Morocco gave every single European in the world permission to come to America. Moroccans did that. And if this is Morocco, and Moroccans did that, then I want to see something from Morocco giving you, the European lady, authority to have a court. And once you do that, then I'll do whatever. We'll go whatever. I'll make any pleas or whatever. And you already know they can't show that because they're a fraud. Because they're a quasi-court. I don't care if they call themselves supreme. They're quasi. If he was really on it, that's how he would be talking. Forget this living soul and all this. If he was really on his game like that, as a European in America, get into some BS and then these criminals are bringing him into the court as a European. His position is, I'm in the Moroccan Empire. I'm an ipso jure Moorish subject. You don't have jurisdiction over me, European guy. And then whatever European connection they use, get a lawyer, sue them after, get 50 million, 49 million they better give to the Moroccan Empire. That's how that works. And the reason it's not working like that is because our people want to play Negro black color games. instead of being Moors. And they want to play Black Indian games instead of just being Moors. And being a Moor is their birthright. It's not nothing to debate. The true heirs to the Americas are the Moors, the people who are misclassified right now as Negro, black, colored, and whatever else they decide to call themselves, or what somebody told them to call themselves that. If you have any questions, put it in the chat. So I was on this live today, and Moors already know, if you go on your live, we're going to ask you questions in the chat. Because you have a chat. So if you have a chat, that means you might get some questions. So we're asking the question in the chat, and people want to play games. So we just wanted to clarify some things, since people want to play games.
Lovecraft is absolutely right and exact. I feel like it was taking that shit from pieces of my life. Every Black American family has a book of names. And doing your genealogy is how you find your family's book of names. So just like you saw them go through in the show, and Tick was dealing with his family and his book of names, you have your own book of names for your family.
No, forget about book of names and all this BS. Because in Lovecraft, they're dressed up like Moors with the Moorish hoods and all that. So stop the Negro BS. Please stop the Negro BS. Indians don't dress like this. And remember, this is the Order of the Golden Dawn and whatever like that. And then this is the part when they went into the Moorish castle and then everybody's dressed like Moors. And then you tell me some madness about book of names. You tell me some Negro stuff. We're not Negroes, blacks, or colored. We're not Black Americans. We're not any of that BS. We're Moors. And what's crazy is this is coming from a Moor, because she's a Bay. How is she a Bay calling people Black Americans? That's why we told you, go to rvbaypublications.com. Stop playing around with all these other people who think they know something. Go to the mothers. They ain't nowhere else to go other than to the mothers. I don't care who's out here talking about whatever they're talking about. If the mothers aren't your foundation, you're done for out here. Guaranteed. Don't bring up some Lovecraft count, and you're not even telling me about Moors. They're wearing hoods and stuff in there, standing in a circle with him in the middle. What do you think they're telling you? They're telling you Negro, book of names and all that stuff? Genealogy of some stuff? What genealogy? We're Moors. That's a genealogy. What are you talking about? You're trying to make stuff advanced. It's not advanced. We're Moors. We're not Negro, black, colored. Simple. Bringing up Lovecraft as if that's a Negro thing. That's a Moorish reference point. Lovecraft country. If you haven't seen it, go look at it. It's Moorish. It's not a Negro thing, even though it has the remnants of KKK and police that are beating people up that look like black guys and all that stuff. That's not what's going on. This is a metaphysical show. This is not some Negro show. This is a metaphysical show. This is a show about witchcraft and all that stuff that you same people are talking about. You don't want nothing to do with that. Because that's the New World Order, and that's the, what do you mean? They're dressed up in the Moorish stuff. They got the archways with the Moorish archway. Everything Moorish. They're dressed like Moors. You look like a Negro to you? That look like a Negro? These guys look like Negroes? But you're going to bring up Lovecraft country as some reference point to push some black Indian BS. We're not black. We're not black. And we're telling you, if you're about learn about this information, you better be studying from rvbaypublications.com. The hooded stuff is not some KKK whatever. The hooded stuff is Moorish. That's our stuff. The long stuff and all that is us giving honors to the matriarch. That's not some man's Islamic, it's a dress. Because you have to give honors to the matriarch. And we're not talking about that feminist BS that people are pushing as matriarchy. This is independent women BS. But they're not going to recognize that Beyonce, who's their independent woman icon or whatever, is Queen Bey. And Bey is Moorish. But you don't want to get what's going on. You want to play dumb. You want to play shake your ass for videos. Not realize they're putting knowledge on you. Got a Moroccan flag in the video, missed it. Put a Moor in the video with the fez on, missed it. Her with a turban on, missed it. You missing everything? You just dumb? Lovecraft brings people dressing up like Moors. You tell me some Negro slave stuff. Yo, it's so in our people's face that if you don't want to get this, you really have mental problems. You really have mental problems. Right? It's not some KKK stuff. Right, remember, this is in the Lovecraft stuff that they're going to be talking about some black Indian book of names and all this BS. That's not what it's about. This is a metaphysical show. This is a high occult science show. This is not some dumb stuff. This is not some mundane. You keep playing around, you're gonna have to pay for it. You're already paying for it right now. And you still don't want to learn. You don't want to learn still? Okay, don't worry. Lovecraft Country. Lovecraft Country is the show. And we're talking about the Adamite Order of the Ancient Dawn, which is a secret society in the show. The Adamite Order of the Ancient Dawn. And the lead Adamite guy, the heir or whatever, is Atticus. And they know exactly what they're doing. Problem is we don't know. Why is there a Adamite Order of the Ancient Dawn and everybody's dressed like Moors in the show? Why? Just for no reason? And then all you can get out of it is some book of names, because it lines up with your Negro, Black, Indian genealogy BS? But nobody in here is dressed like an Indian? Nobody in the whole show is dressed like an Indian. Black Indian, Cherokee, Chippewa, tuk, whatever they want to call themselves. None of that. None of that. Moors. Why? Why Moors? Why Moors? Why? It is interesting to note the gradual changes that occur in the wording of the subsequent periodical official registrations of this Moorish hat. In 1613, its description was faithfully reproduced. In 1621, the word Indian was substituted for Moorish. So what does that mean before 1621? That anybody who was Indian was Moorish before 1621. 1621 was yesterday. If Indian, these people call themselves Indians over here. If Indian was substituted for Moorish, and you're talking about Montezuma, king of Mexico, and his headwear is called a Moorish hat, you can't tell me anything about black Indians, Cherokee, Métis, and all that. Those people are Moors. If they're Indian, that was a substitution for Moorish. It's that simple. That was a substitution for Moorish. There's no such thing as an Indian. An Indian is really Los Indios. Not Los Indios. Los Sindios. Vatican made that up. Usually people tell you you're not Moors, but they're telling you call yourself Vatican words. You calling yourself Vatican words? And then talking crazy about the Moors. We don't know what we're talking about. We know exactly what we're talking about. Because we read. We're not Negroes, blacks, coloreds, or Ethiopians, or any of that. We're Moors.
We know DNA testing is BS. No one's talking about DNA testing. Y'all are funny. I already answered this question. Yes. Yep. And so I have an academic clearance pass to get into places in the Library of Congress that they don't even allow the general public to go to. And so, is Danny saying like, y'all just trip me out with some of the shit y'all say. Like, what are you saying right there? Everybody has a last name that's not their own. Although these last names are, a lot of these last names are ours. What we're calling European last names are actually our last names. Because we were forced to they forced us to take a tribal last name collectively. You will notice the spelling changes of your family's last name the further back you go of their surnames. So that's not true. That is the truth. I'm not going to argue with you on my page. And see, we don't like Moors like y'all. I'm just going to keep it real. I classify myself as a Moor. I consider myself to be a Moor. I am a Moor. But I'm not one of you obnoxious ass, think they know it all ass Moors, think everybody is a Moor. Like, that shit is so aggravating and so annoying. Like, you go talk that shit on your page. You're not going to argue with me in my comments. You're not. You're going to get blocked. No, the fuck they weren't. No, they weren't. No, the original last names here in America were not Bay, Day, El, or an Ali. No, the fuck they weren't.
She's immortal. She's immortal, but the names weren't Bay, Day, Allen. Okay. Let's just see. Let's just see here. Let's just we just like to go in front of cameras and talk shit or whatever. Let's just see what we have here. The reason Bay or El has been removed from so-called black people in North America is due to the fact that people who have melanin were raided in the Americas, kidnapped from their own land rights here in the Americas, human trafficked, and held captive as prisoners to be forced to work on plantations in the U.S. maritime occupation of the Americas. During the period of transatlantic wars, Moors who were captured were stripped of their land, nationality, and divine creed, or anything linking them to their title, nation, heritage, language, ethnic family, and names through paper genocide. These captured nationals were considered and used as property and were reassigned the last names of their masters. This is how you can have someone like Shaquille O'Neal, Michael Jordan, Oprah Winfrey, etc., who have the last names known to be Irish or English when they are not. This is what is known as paper genocide of our people and society. We were evacuated from our rightful land, resources, and wealth, then trapped to either work on our own occupied lands or die, while our heritage, documents, titles, treaties, etc. were ignored and destroyed. So now when you see Bay or El titles added to the last name, it is merely so-called black people returning to the ways of their ancestors' true identity of being Moorish, and also returning to their divine creed of Islam. They did not give up the last names that their ancestors took on, because they carry that to always be linked to their ancestors as a reminder of the brutality of their captivity and the stripping of the nation of people, reducing them to a subhuman status. The annexing of Bay or El brings them back into the families of nations. Those people who change their name when they return to Islam are taking on an Arabic name, yet this is not a prerequisite to practicing Islam. Here are the 5 Cushite, Kemetic, Moorish titles of nobility that ties the so-called Indian, Indo, Indios, Indus, blacks to sovereignty of America, Amexem, Al-Marak, Northgate, El Bey, Day Al, and Ali. The 5 titles also belong to the 5 civilized tribes. That's why the other Aboriginal people call themselves 6 nations, because there's already 5 before them that were the people who were already here. The Els, Bays, Days, Als, and Alis. The title El means God or power, executive, lawmaker, creator. Bay means ruler or landlord, enforcer, officer. Day means knowledgeable. Al means the same as El, feminine, goddess. Ali means exalted or most high. Al is also reserved for the nation in earning degrees in the sciences, mathematical, geometrical, psychological, etc. Day is meant for the reserved for some, is meant for and reserved for same in degrees of astrological, cosmological, other sciences, etc. rvbaypublications.com. So Amen Prank Blogspot gets a check mark because he sent you to the right reference point. He sent you to the right reference point so you can do some further study. So honors to them for that. So as the Moors wake up, right? As the Moors wake up, they start putting all the pieces together, right? Start putting the pieces together. The tribes are L, Cherokee, B, Choctaw, D, Seminole, Al, Creek, and Ali, Chickasaw. Now you talk to anybody who's calling themselves Black Indian, they're going to fall in one of those. And then all those would be Iroquois, the confederation of all the tribes. And they all look like us. And if they look like us, then that means that they would be Moors. And again, a lot of this has to do with the reconstruction of history to have you think there was nothing happening over here when it was popping over here. The language that we speak today is a dialect of all the languages of the world. Because even people who don't know this would understand what you're saying. It's so basic. And it's that simple. Right? Don't let them take you on some advanced stuff. The advanced stuff is when you get into psychology and whatever. Certain things are common sense. You don't need books to figure this stuff out. Right? The 5 civilized tribes, the Cherokee, Choctaw, Seminole, Creek, Chickasaw, and then the 6 nations is all the other ones that came after that don't look like dark-skinned American Indians. They look fair and they have straighter hair. That's why they're the 6 nations. They're not the 1 to 5 nations. They're the 6 nations. Because there was already 5 civilized tribes here of dark-skinned people who found it here. And many authors have talked about it. And if you don't believe it, just go look at an Olmec head and you tell me if that looks like some modern indigenous. They don't look modern. Right? We are Moors. The Moors are the heirs to the vast estate known as the Moroccan Empire. Anyone else in this land here that's not from here is a foreigner. Because this is Morocco. This is Al Morocco, the land of the Moors. This is known. It's not our opinion. But they've reconstructed it so much that our people don't know which way they're facing. And certain ones of them don't want to find out. Now look at it again, using common sense, right? There's no way that a continent is an island. There's no way. And when you go to Philadelphia and Chief Tamminen standing on the turtle with the 5-point star on the back of the turtle, that's they know this is Morocco. And he's up there with a fez on. That's not a fez. All right. He never said, I'm a Moor. But he's wearing a fez though. And then when the Moors went and they had the totem with the Moor with his hands out, welcoming people near BC. Totem with the fez on, cape and all that stuff. Why are you wearing all that? That's not no Indian stuff. And we talk to chiefs and stuff like that. We know people who are on the reserve that know that they're Moors, and they're telling them, and they're like, yeah, we know. This is the Indian people. This is the Bureau of Indian Affairs people. They know. So if they know, then we don't have any excuse. We really don't. We better not have any. If you have any questions, throw it in the chat. I didn't even check what time we started this. I don't know how much long is left. But just remember that it's about nationality and birthrights. Because we're seeing it. If how we put it down, right? In 2008, the only individual who was repping any type of Aboriginal, Indigenous, whatever, from that perspective, UN declarations and all that, was Washita. And they were claiming that we're the confederation of all the tribes. And they had their empress and all that. When it was 2008, why do you see some Moorish flags with gold around them? Depends on who's waving that Moorish flag. If you see Moors with turbans and fezzes, with the gold fringe around the flag, then they might not really know. They might just went online, got a flag, and that's what they got, so they're using it. Or they're looking at the occupation of the U.S. as the occupation of Morocco, and thinking that, that jurisdiction of Morocco being under the authority of them is a reality, when that's not a reality, that's a fiction. Because like we told you just the other day, the Moor got stopped, kidnapped and all that, and they released him from the prison with his own recognizance. He didn't need a lawyer, he didn't need bail, any of that. So the Moroccan Empire has some type of authority. If a Moor could have that happen by them being in their proper status as a Moor. Because they were in their proper status as a Moor, they got kidnapped and got released, no issues. Right? And those Moors don't have no gold fringes around flags and all that. So, something's off. I don't know what, like I said, could be somebody who said, oh yeah, Moroccan flag online, and they just bought it and they got sent that, and then they're just using that. They might have Googled it, and the images and the JPEG that came up had the gold stuff around it, and it didn't even dawn on them that it meant gold fringe, and they just use it. So, I don't know. But if we're free, we wouldn't have a gold fringe around the flag if we're free. Right? If you have any other questions, put it in the chat. So we're saying in 08, only way you're getting the information of we're the Aboriginal and Indigenous people, that was through Washita. And we have Alim Bey's book, The First World Order, to back that up. Okay. First World Order, Alim Bey. And again, this from the generation when you had to see, you had to be in the flesh to get stuff from the master teachers. This is not no online stuff. You have to go to get it. Page 77. The Serpent Colonists of the Americas. America, the land of serpents. The land of the wise serpents. It was also a favorite destination for extraterrestrial serpents arriving from Venus and other parts of the cosmos. According to the descendants of the early Lemurian record keepers, the Andean elders, the entire American landmass was anciently known as America, the land of the immortals, or the land of the wise serpents. The title America is derived from the Quechuan Lemurian word Amaru, meaning snake or serpent. The ends in the syllable ka, which denotes both serpent and wisdom. Apparently echoing the recollections of the Andean elders, H.P. Blavatsky maintains in The Secret Doctrine that America is referred to in the Hindu Puranas, the kingdom of the Nagas, serpents. Note, Amaruka, Amen-Ra, America, the land of the immortals, it is called kingdom of the serpents, Nagas, niggers, Niger, Nigerian, etc. Amaru Muru, the serpent Muru. One of the earliest immortal serpents from Mu to colonize America was Aramu Muru, or Amaru Muru, the serpent Muru. According to legend, moments before Mu's final demise, the serpent Muru, along with his consort Aramamara, boarded an airship and headed to South America with a cargo of sacred records and artifacts, including a huge golden disc. The mountains of South America, the Andes, resonated to the same yin vibration as their beloved Mu, and were thus considered suitable for the preservation of Lemurian culture. They were also home to the city of Paititi, one of the planetary headquarters of the Solar Brotherhood, an organization Aramu Muru had been a high-ranking member of on Mu. The name Moorish American is actually an oxymoron, meaning the word Moor and Amur having the same root, and the same Moorish American is derived from Aramu Maru and Amaru Moor, which is portion of the name Amuru Washita or Amexem Washita Moor. Ancient America author David Deal included my scoffing at the establishment's acceptance of an old world interpreter's ballyhooing of a book he was publishing, thus initiating the etymology of using a commoner's first name, Amerigo, to arrive at the name of our ancient continent, of our American continent. The faux etymology was perpetuated in our schools until even that was dropped from many of the curricula, which now favor items political correctness in lieu of historical facts. Columbus' fourth voyage resulted in the said Spaniards learning about the Choctaw Indians' word Americ, which meant summit of the mountain, and which his crew Hispanized to America. The word that Vespucci's publisher Waldseemüller used when he translated Vespucci's book from the Latin. Ricardo de Palma related the story in Cartas se las Indias, written during 1504, when he was in Lima, Peru. His book is preserved in Madrid's National Archives. In a telephone conversation with Mr. Deal, he mentioned that Amir, A-M-Y-R, in Hebrew also meant summit of the mountain, while the ancient Hebrew Rik, R-Y-Q, signified something that was worthless, empty, or of no use, like wilderness. Amir Rika translated to mountain wilderness, likened to the Americ on the Maya Quiche tongue of the Chontals, in which is now Nicaragua. In other words, the original application of the name American, America, which both has roots in the word Meru, Amr, Amir, Amir, Hebrew Arabic meaning leader, commander in front, peak, or summit of a mountain. In Olmecan Mayan, Ik, Amek El, and in Algonquin, America, meaning more, M-O-O-R, M-O-R-O, M-A-U-R, did not apply to the Albion European settlers, invaders, or their descendants. These Moors eventually migrated to North America from Mexico and became known as Washita, Yamasee, and Ben Ishmael tribe. The Ben Ishmael tribe was a collection of what is now the Lenni Lenape, Wampanoag, and Nanticoke Indians who migrated to Indiana and Illinois and referred to themselves as Moors, even though the United States government continued to classify them as Negroes in order to strip them of their indigenous rights. Peace and love to all the Moors. The First World Order of Email Bay. Study, study, study. Honors to all the mothers everywhere, wherever you're at. Peace and love. Honors to all the Moors. worldwide. Islam, honors to the Prophet Noble Drew Ali.